Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Corey Kleinfeld
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, guys.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Billy Walkowiak. He is the owner and founder of Collision Safety Consultants since 2009, and he is the leading expert on diminished value. He has 22, I believe it was, locations in the U.S., one in Canada, one in Australia, and it sounds like more opening up every month. So welcome to the show, Billy. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Ryan and I are super excited about this. We talked for a while on the phone, and we're just gonna talk about diminished value because, quite frankly, I want to know more about it, and you're the guy that knows about it. So here we are. The most basic question is, what is, like, if no one's ever heard of diminished value, what is it? How would you explain it to somebody?
Yeah, so the Latin term is something, and I can't even say it, something like diminuent in value. So it's the diminution in the value of a vehicle, diminished value for us people don't understand Latin. So it is the inherent loss in value of a vehicle due to a wreck history. So there are two types of diminished value. One is inherent diminished value. That means, hey, my car was in an accident, and just because of the fact that it's been in an accident, when I go to sell or trade it, it's going to lose value. Because only, and I say this all the time, only a fool would pay full market value for the same year, make, and model vehicle with a wreck history, without a wreck history. And then there's repair-related diminished value. Now, that comes when someone improperly repairs a vehicle. That can be PDR or conventional. Doesn't matter. So, and let me explain the difference just real quick. So, inherent diminished value said, hey, my Mercedes S550 was in an accident. It had $10,000 worth of damage. You owe me X dollars in diminished value. Okay. And that's a flawless repair, whether it's PDR or conventional. Now, you've got the same S550 and you take it to one of, let's say, a contract repair shop that the insurance company sends you to, and they do a improper repair. You got dirt in the paint, or they drilled holes to PDR, or did some things that aren't industry standard or not good. Well, then your vehicle is not only depreciated because of the wreck history, but now you've got a car that's, and I think you said we can cuss, right?
You can cuss all you want.
Yeah. So then you got somebody who did a shitty job. Okay. And your vehicle is worth less. And this is kind of hard to explain. It's worth less because of the bad repairs, but that diminishes the amount of inherent diminished value. And here's why. Because your car lost just as much value because you got a shitty repair as it did because of the accident. And so if you get a good repair on an accident, you're getting full diminished value. If you get a bad repair on a good car, then you go to sell it and somebody goes, well, the fender doesn't match. The paint has got, dirt in it. Someone drilled a hole in the door to access the back of the quarter panel. What's going on here? So one of the things you want to quantify or qualify is you want a good repair to get the maximum amount of diminished value.
Okay, so maybe I'll try to help define it. This is how it works in my head, and it seemed to have worked over the last 100+ episodes I've done. So you got a car, it's brand new, it's worth $100. It gets in a wreck automatically, no matter what. If it gets repaired, PDR, conventional, whatever, if it gets repaired, it's going to have inherent diminished value. So let's say it was worth 100, inherent diminished value is 10. So now it's 90. Okay. Is that so? Basically, the insurance company is going to pay the shop to fix the damage. And then also there's inherent diminished value. The insurance company, in theory, should write a check to the customer for that number.
Only if an insurance company sends you to one of their shops, then they're responsible for the repair. But if you pick the PDR tech or you pick the shop and you get a bad repair, it's on you.
Interesting.
Therefore, if you don't get a proper repair, that's your fault. You picked the shitty shop. There's nothing that the insurance company had to do with it. Now, if they send you to
But
one
if
of their
the
contractors,
insurance company picks a shitty shop,
there you go. If they send you to one of their direct repair or preferred shops and they do a bad repair, then you can double dip. Then you got inherent diminished value and repair diminished value. But if you're in an accident and you pick the shop and they do bad repairs, it reduces your amount of diminished value because the car's got bad repairs.
So if it was worth 100, it got in a wreck, the inherent diminished value makes it now, if you sell it now, it's worth 90. If you also have repair related diminished value, now you can make a case that it's worth 85. So you could potentially get even more money.
If it's done under
if it's done with that stipulation.
Yep.
Okay. So those are the two types of diminished value. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan, this is interesting. This is interesting already. Like I know we're going to come up to this kind of stuff because the PDR industry for a while has been, telling customers like you don't, and this is true, you don't have to take that car to the body shop that the insurance company tells you to. You can take it to me. And if you do a good job and a proper repair, that's okay. But if you do an improper repair and they go hire Billy, we got to cut a check. Is that fair to say? You can come after us, right, Billy, if we do a bad job?
That's exactly what happens. Is I tell the consumer that their only resolve is to sue the shop.
Yeah.
Because if they picked it, it's on them. And the lawsuit is between them and the shop. The insurance company says, hey, we gave you 10 grand to go fix your car, and you went to Joe's body shop and Joe did a bad repair. That's on you, between you and Joe. Now, if they say we told you to go to Jim's and Jim is a direct repair shop, that's on them. So what I'll tell a customer is if they get a bad repair at Joe's and they pick Joe's, is you go back to Joe and say, Joe, I want you to fix this right. Then we'll file the DD claim, because then that brings the quality of the vehicle back up to where we want it to be. And then they can go after full diminished value. But if you got, no blend time, or you got, again, if they fractured the paint doing a PDR, or they didn't put the quarter panel in straight, or the fender doesn't match, or, any of that kind of stuff that the shop did a bad repair, that hurts you in your diminished value claim.
I do think we have a really big disconnect on when I've talked a little bit about becoming direct repairs with insurance companies on the paintless dent repair side. And I think that we've had a big disconnect on repair quality, right? Every insurance company I've ever spoken to.
What is bad, right? What is bad?
Right. So on every PDR company that is reputable and is going to do good work should have a system in place that says if we do not repair this damage correctly, then we can't charge for it, right? We're already doing it for retail customers, so why aren't we doing it for insurance, right? So if we fracture the paint or we do an improper repair, then the next step is to bring it to a body shop to have it repaired correctly. Do you think that has any difference in like how we can go about paintless dent repair and getting on with insurance companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a very valid way to go about it. And it's we were saying before, so the insurance company cannot, it's called steering. The insurance company cannot tell you where to go.
Right.
And here's what I have to tell my customers, or any customer all the time. It's your car. I'll get customers all the time that have a total loss. And I just had one not long ago, and they said, my insurance company says I could not move my vehicle to it was my father-in-law shop, and it was in my hometown. And they said, my insurance company said that I could not move my vehicle. What? It's your car. It's not theirs. They may insure it, but it's your car. And people think that the insurance company they insure, they can tell you what to do. Not only can they not tell you what to do, they can't tell you what to do. If that makes sense.
No,
because it's in most states it's against the law. There's anti-steering laws.
But they do, though.
They do.
Well, they're very careful about how they do it. They'll say something like this shop
is approved or certified, or
Well, this shop charges more money, so you may be out of pocket money. Everything they say, you may be out of pocket money. Did you hear may, or did you hear I'm out of pocket money?
Right.
Yeah.
You heard I'm out of pocket money.
Right.
You know, we may not pay for that, or like a lot of people when I tell them to go to their own carrier, they'll say, well, my carrier told me, well, it's not their carrier, usually it's their agent. My agent told me if I didn't go to where they told me, I might not get a proper repair and I don't get a warranty. Well, insurance companies, and this is the funny part, is insurance companies will, and they'll tell you this with a straight face, we only warranty good repair, not bad repairs. What did you just say? We only warranty and guarantee a good repair, not a bad repair. What does that mean? Well, if it's a bad repair, it's on the shop. If it's a good repair, we take credit for it. And they mean it, because the shop, when they get on a direct repair agreement, they have a hold harmless against the insurance company, and their contract that the insurance company has that body shop signed actually makes the body shop pay for the legal fees if there's any lawsuit against the insurance company. Now, who would sign a contract like that? And then they come in and they pick away your profits.
Dude, so someone on a tangent, because someone that signs that basically because they say, I'll feed you 100 cars a month through Geico,
right,
or through, we don't want to call insurance companies out, whatever, any insurance company, DRP.
Right.
I'll feed you 100 cars a month. How many people have ever sued you for bad work over your last 20 years, Mr. Body Shop? None. Yeah, no one ever does that, right? And so they sign them up, right? So that's
how many body shops are reading the contract?
None. It's probably
none,
like
right? They sign it. They just sign it and say, we're going to get the work. Let's just keep rolling through it. We'll let them tell us what we can and can't do, and then we'll move on, right?
So that's fascinating. So if you really, if you wanted to make a body shop not be a DRP anymore, basically, and if they didn't do good work, you just have to have 3, 4, 5 people sue them for bad work and diminished value, and they'd be like, oh shit.
Or talk about the liability, right? Talk about the liability that the body shop is about to take on, and no body shop really thinks about that, you know?
Fascinating.
No body shop understands that they're liable. You know, you look at that John Eagle case, when John Eagle and State Farm told him what to do. And if anybody would know the John Eagle case, I'll do a quick brushstroke. A body shop glued a roof in. A family got hit in the car. It didn't react the way it was engineered. The guy's foot burnt off. I've seen the pictures of the guy. It literally burnt the flesh on his shin. So there's nothing left but bone, because when the car collapsed, it jammed his foot under the brake, and trapped him. And when the engine caught on fire, it literally burned everything from his calf down off. And there was a bone sticking in a tennis shoe. $43 million that body shop had to pay. And what had happened was the car was fixed at John Eagle, got sold, and so it was a second person that owned the vehicle. And they found out who did the bad repairs. And so I think State Farm only paid a couple million, but John Eagle had to pay 40-something million, because the person who touches that vehicle is liable. And no body shop thinks they are. They think, well, the insurance company told me to do it, so they're. And then there's that what I talked a little bit before, but there's no such thing. So it's not really called a hold harmless. What the DRP signs. A hold harmless agreement is someone says, hey, I'm not supposed to put this used quarter panel in, but I am. But I'll do it if you sign a hold harmless. So they tell the insurance company. What a hold harmless is for someone to say, hey, listen, I did it wrong, and I'm putting you in an unsafe vehicle, but don't hold me liable for it. You're putting in writing that you did something wrong.
Right.
That's not going to hold up anywhere.
Does the customer ever know about that? Probably not.
No.
That's not in the packet they give you from the collision shop that has all the estimate in it and everything.
Here's your estimate. Have a nice day. Well, it's got that stupid, guarantee. There was one of them back.
Yeah,
in the
lifetime
day,
warranty will repaint it.
Yeah, I think USAA used to have on theirs that if our repair is not and it might still be in there in their little packet of guarantee, it said, and I loved it, because it said if our repair is not up to industry standard, still looking for that book, and we'll go to that later. If our repair is not up to industry standard, then you can take it to another shop of your choice to have it fixed. So what would happen when I do a post-collision repair inspection and say, not only is this not up to industry standard, it's not to play school standard. And because of that DRP relationship, the beautiful thing about my post-collision repair inspections is when I catch a bad repair at a shop that's done by a DRP, guess who's liable? The shop. Guess who has to pay me? Because the insurance company makes them pay me. The shop. The insurance company is totally out, and the insurance company forces the shop to pay me. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
If they want to hold their DRP licensing or whatever, right?
Right. And they're not, they're sucking the tit of that, DRP agreement so bad, and
their whole business is gone if they don't have DRP. I mean,
so one of the leaders in our industry a while back was Ray Gunder. I don't know if any of you guys know Ray Gunder. He's out of Lakeland, Florida, and he really fought and won a bunch of lawsuits, and really took State Farm in Florida. But they would tell people that you can do this DRP and direct repair, but then in the end, it comes back to them. And what happened was they'd fold because it's their responsibility, but they force the shop to pay when they do a bad repair. And it's so, the only problem is when it's you pick your own shop, the only thing you can do is sue that shop, and there's not a lot of attorneys out there that'll do that. But when it's a DRP agreement, or you've got unfair and deceptive trade practice, and then an attorney sees, I'm going to get legal fees, I'm going to get what's called treble damages. Whenever you have unfair and deceptive trade practices in the legal field, and I'm not giving legal advice, I'm just telling you what I know, it's called bad faith, unfair and deceptive trade practices. And they get treble damages. So it's 3 times whatever the damage is. So you got a $20,000 vehicle, that becomes a $60,000 judgment. Then it becomes $25,000 for punitive damage, $45,000 for stress and pain or whatever, and then attorney's fees. And the way Collision Safety Consultants cut its teeth, and when we started, there was a body shop in North Carolina that had committed fraud. They ordered a rail for a Honda Odyssey, and they sectioned the rail, and they put the rail in because they didn't want to use the whole piece. And and they also didn't put a center floor pan in it. So they took it to court, and I told the girl that owned the body shop and owned the dealership, listen, it's a $1,700 supplement that we found that you can send this in, and they'll total the car. At that time, I charged $1,000. Now it's $4,000. The most you're out is like $250 in storage and my fee, $1,000. Okay, and we wrote the supplement for her to send in to total the car. 2 years later, the judgment was $185,000 plus $450,000 between the attorney's fees that she had to pay for her attorney and my customer's attorney fees. So almost $800,000 she paid over what she could have done for a $1,700 supplement. And then once that hit the body shop business and fender mender and all the other trade magazines and everything, you think anybody messed with me when I made a call and I say, hey, I got a bad repair? For a couple of years, and now, and it took a couple of years, but another major. I won't name them because they're pretty good guys now. We've kind of come around, but they questioned us on a repair, and ended up it cost them $1 million. $1 million on like a $17,000 Range Rover.
So the question for all the PDR guys listening is, the body shop does a repair that's not industry standard, and you look at it and determine it's not industry standard. I think in a body shop, I know in a body shop, there are standards written out from insurance companies, from manufacturers, from a lot of different ways of like how you should, like that's the rail. They cut it in half. They didn't want to use the whole thing. They sectioned it. Clearly that's not supposed to happen because that's not the proper way to do it. Go to the PDR side. What is an industry standard for PDR? Is that ever been written? Is there, I'm just curious. If you found a clay, we did a bad job or whatever, a bad job. I don't even know how to ask the question. What's the industry standard for PDR?
So there is no industry standard. That's what was my joke. There is no industry standard for collision repair.
Right. Okay.
That's what insurance companies lead their customers to believe, that there is such thing and there's a manual or something out there. That's not industry standard.
There's like best practices?
Not even best practices. What I would consider industry standard is what SCRS and the manufacturers. That's it. The people that fix the vehicles, the experts, the OEM procedures, that should be the industry standard. The insurance companies use it as a buzzword to say that Joe's Body Shop does the industry standard, and that's why we'll send you there. And Tim's Body Shop, who's Mercedes certified, BMW certified, and they have a lot more equipment and everything. We're not going to pay their rates because they do more than what's required for an industry standard. That's what an insurance company will lead consumers to believe, that there is such a thing as an industry standard. There's not. But what I think the industry standard should be is follow the OEM guidelines and procedures.
But
they're
there is
there
none of
for a
those for
reason.
PDR though, right?
Not that I know of.
Wild West, dude. It's the Wild West.
So how do we fix that? Is there an option for us to fix that? I don't, because can you not agree that paintless dent repair is by far in certain circumstances, paintless dent repair is a better repair for a vehicle?
Now I'm going to get, it's like I said, I did an interview, I did a podcast with Mickey at Body Banging right before this one. And I said, I know I'm going to get a lot of letters when I say this, like I'm on TV. I'm going to get a lot of letters about this one. It is less evasive and done properly. Absolutely. I'm going to get a lot of conventional guys that are going to, be mad, but
I don't know if that's true.
Well, if it's not creased, if it's not fatigued, but I'm learning too. I've seen our boy at Kiko. Kiko? What he got mad at me because I called him Kiko.
Yeah,
Kiko.
Kiko.
He said, "Ain't not a lizard, man." Some of the amazing stuff that they're doing. And some of the dents they're getting out just blow me away.
Well, we're transforming as an industry, just like the collision industry is. We're able to fix things that we couldn't fix 10, 15 years ago. We can now fix stuff like that. 2 years ago, right? Our technology and skill set is changing on a daily basis. So I feel like there has to become something for us to be utilized by insurance companies in the collision repair, because not only do we save the customer's OEM finish and it's a less invasive repair, we are saving the insurance companies a ton of money, whether they want to fight with us or not, because we're saving rental, the time. I want to get on the diminishment value side of things on how paintless dent repair diminishes the value of a vehicle when we're restoring the OEM finish. I guess we can kind of hit on that if you want to hit on that. Was that a question, Corey?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So I said, what is the industry standard for PDR? Long story short, there is no industry standard for anything. For PDR, there's not even any OEM standard. There's a couple things I've read, like the Toyota belt molding thing. There's a few things out there that I've seen. So we should follow those. I guess the question is, so you get a quarter panel that's pretty smashed up. Quarter panels are big for us because the cost to repair it at a body shop is so high versus like a fender typically, that we can get repairs. I've done quarter panels on cars where the actual edge is bent in over the bumper, like 2-3 inches, and we could pull those out for $3,500, $4,000 retail costs, not through insurance. Like one with through insurance, one not. But I guess basically, if we were to take the same exact quarter panel and we did it with paintless dent repair, and the shop did it with sectioning off or putting on a new rail, is the diminished value less?
So I use 3 factors to determine diminished value. One is the year of the vehicle. And we're not even right now taking into consideration the type of vehicle. Just on
Let's do the S550.
level.
We're talking about the S550.
Yeah. Okay. So S550. So the year, the mileage, and the severity. Okay. So is severity the cost of repairs? Is severity the damages? Well, let's say if it's a baseball sized dent in a quarter panel. Okay. Now, someone says replace, someone says repair. And here's in which lies the dilemma.
Can I define you more? Can I add a third one? Is that
sure?
Fair? Someone says replace, someone says conventional repair with Bondo.
Okay.
Someone says PDR. Can we do
those?
And
I was taking that into consideration. You're way ahead of the Corey. Come on, dude.
Okay, sorry.
leave it to the expert. So,
right.
So with a PDR repair versus a conventional repair, if it was going to be repaired, again, why do you want Bondo in your S550? And if it's going to be a conventional replace on a quarter panel, it's so evasive. And I'll give you a true world expert opinion when I was wrong. Again, you heard it here, folks. Billy was wrong, and he's going to admit it right here on this podcast. So we had a Nissan in Mississippi that where it was hit, it was right by where the bumper meets the back quarter panel, and it ripped it. And it ripped it probably about like that, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/2 of an inch, somewhere about in that much. And I was working with the Mosleys at Clinton Body Shop with Daniel and his dad, John. And they're like, we need to replace this quarter panel, and had all this data and all this everything. And Jason, I believe, was at Nissan at the time. And so it went into the appraisal clause, and the insurance company wrote repair. The body shop wrote replace. And I got to Nissan, and they said repair. They said that gap was enough that it could be closed and it could be welded. That it, even though it's part of the outer shell, it wasn't really structural. And they said because cutting a quarter panel is so evasive. And now here, what do you have? You got a chance of bare welds. You got a chance of no corrosion. You got the insurance companies writing used quarter panel. Are you shitting me? My father-in-law been in business for 50 years. This year, 50 years. And I asked him this a couple of years ago, and I know it's not changed. In 50 years, he's used one used quarter panel. And it was on a 65 Mustang because the guy said, I want an original 65 quarter panel on my 65 Mustang. And that's the only one he's ever done. And you got these shops out there doing used quarter panels. When the repair time, in the repair time show, if you do it right and you dress the welds and you drill out the holes and everything, it costs more to put a used quarter panel in the car and more work than it does to put a new one on it.
Yeah.
If you're right in the estimate. But let's go back to what Corey's talking about. Is so replacing the quarter panel is going to be more expensive, and it's going to be more evasive, and repairing it conventional is going to probably be skimmed or have some type of Bondo in it. And if you can PDR it properly without breaking the seal, breaking any of the paint of the surface, that's obviously a much better way to repair it. And so the diminished value, in my opinion, would be, I'm going to look at a sheet that instead of being $8,000 is going to be $4,000, right? And there's no broken paint, and it said repair, not replace. And that's one thing that the insurance companies that point out to me when I'm in the battle, when I'm fighting for diminished value, we repaired it. It wasn't anything structural, and nothing was replaced. So it helps in their mindset too. There be less diminished value in everyone's eyes on a PDR repair versus a conventional repair or a conventional replace.
What else do
So
we
why-
even talk about? No, I'm just kidding.
So why do insurance companies not utilize that?
You know, the whole matrix things gets me.
Well, that's hail. That's hail. That has nothing to do with collision. That's
price
a
of
whole
dent
noth-
or whatever.
That's a whole nother podcast. But
yeah.
the way we come up with pricing on collision repair is a new type of matrix, but we need to come up with a new name for it, because when you say matrix, it automatically goes to hail repair, and it's not the same. It's totally different, because we have to take in so many other factors than you do with hail damage.
I mean, the question is, why don't PDR shops, why don't insurance companies use PDR shops? You'd think it would help reduce liability. Not that they have much, but
also
and probably because there's a lot of bad PDR techs.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, is that there needs to become a clause in the insurance statement as far as PDR goes. If PDR is going to be performed, I don't know how that works, but if you can't fix it, you can't charge for it. I mean, to me as a business owner, that's black and white. You can't charge for something that you can't fix. If you spent 2 days on working on a car, that's not the insurance company's problem. It's not the customer's problem. It's your problem for not having the amount of knowledge it takes to do that type of repair.
Well, and Corey, to be honest, I did not know that insurance companies were not wanting or refusing to do PDR.
They hate us.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's hit or miss, I guess. You'd think there's a thing that we talk about in the industry, not a lot, but I say it a lot. It's PDR first. Like there's no reason why it shouldn't be PDR first. There's a lot of stuff we can't do clearly at collision shops, like millions and billions of dollars worth of work, but there's a lot of stuff, and I walk body shops every single day that I certainly can do. Yeah. So why doesn't, and you might not know this answer, but why don't insurance companies force their DRPs? They force them to do everything else to check with a PDR shop first. I don't know.
Question.
And maybe, and this is just, because I'm just starting to, hearing some of this stuff that you're talking about, maybe because there is not an establishment of a brick and mortar PDR shop like there are body shops that someone can drive into and it's established. Because I will tell you, in Gastonia, I think is Dent Wizard a big national?
Yes.
Yeah.
The largest but the largest by 100 times over any other company.
Okay. Yeah. So they've got a big facility right above my father-in-law's shop, but I think it's for, when I say commercial, I think they bring dealership cars. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bring dealership cars in there 55, 60, 80, 100 at a time. And they're fixing them in this little building. But Joe can't go in there and get it done.
No.
And every time Tommy Clayton, in North Carolina, who does PDR work, and Danny Hager, any of those guys like them, they all, from what I know, pretty much work on the road or go somewhere to fix something.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but, and the only reason I say Danny Hacker and Tommy are two of the guys that I know in the industry, and y'all, is maybe someone needs to actually get a hold of an executive at an insurance company and go, hey, Bo, let's say Louisiana. Hey, Bo, look here. Here's this dent. Here's how I can fix it. Okay. Now let's do it a conventional way and give them the price comparison and say,
well, they fight with us. They fight with us on price, right? They just come up with they say, that you make too much money. They say we charging too much money for that without having anything to back up. They don't back up that the response that comes out of their mouth on why we're charging what we're charging for the dent, even though it's taken us years.
That's an entirely separate issue, in my opinion. One, why don't they send it to us? Two, if it costs $8,000 to replace a quarter panel, and there's, I pick a number, $4,000 in additional diminished value, we should be able to charge $12,000 to fix it.
Right.
In theory, that's never going to happen, but in theory. So no. So just for context, Brian Brewer and I both have shops, and we are doing more, I would say more insurance. And that's like, one claim a month or two a month, maybe. Yeah. So that's more than what we've previously done, which is zero, but
that goes smooth.
We both have shops.
Like, do you have any issues, Corey, whenever you run into a claim? The claims that we take on, we know that we're able to repair these things safely.
When the customer comes to us, when I can talk to them and say, the insurance company is going to tell you to go to this shop, and they'll say that PDR can't fix it, but I promise you I can fix it. Here's my before and after pictures, videos, etc. They're like, okay, I trust you. I'm going to make a claim, and I'm going to give it to you, and the insurance company is going to write me a check. It's always fine. I mean, it's fine. I mean, granted, if we screwed something up, I would get it fixed at a body shop, which I've done too, but
not on the insurance company's money, right? It's
not on the insurance company's money. No.
If it was our problem, we did something, we're liable for that. That's always the case. So whether you're a body shop or a PDR shop.
Yeah, question goes back to, why don't insurance companies use us? One, they probably don't even know about us, and two, mobile guys they're too. I don't know the word, fly by night, I guess. Like, you can't get a hold of him. He might just disappear, not answer his cell phone, I guess. So there's that. But we both have brick and mortar shops.
Insurance companies found out about the T hot box, right? For hail. They were out there giving the T hot box to their adjusters, trying to fix hail. So
trying to fix dents themselves.
They are consecutively trying
to find
attention. They're paying attention. They're trying to save money, and they know the PDR industry is here. They just don't pay enough attention to what we're capable of doing for them and their customers, right?
Yeah. So
y'all know Paul and Tim Corden?
Yeah, we both very well. Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. So I work with them a little bit. Matter of fact, my father-in-law did a class for them on I think not only on estimating, but this is how much my father-in-law loved this industry. He brought 5 or 6 of those guys to North Carolina and spent Saturday and Sunday with them and gave them a free class.
Nice.
He did it because he wanted not only the PDR, he does this for anybody, but just because they were PDR, he wants this industry, the collision industry, whether it's PDR, conventional, whatever, to get what they're owed and to have vehicles fixed properly. And so Ronnie went into helping them write a proper estimate, because they weren't writing it. Some of these guys didn't know any of the P pages or any of the stuff that they do. So the only thing I think is beyond, a lobbying group for you guys is, and I will tell you this much, y'all seem more unified as PDR group than the collision industry.
Yeah, I agree.
In the collision industry, there's 25 shops in Gaston County, where my father-in-law is. And I can only talk about where I am that I know, I really know what's going on. And most of those guys can't stand my father-in-law.
Because everybody's competition. They hate competition. They hate it.
Yeah.
And he does too go to work, and it makes everybody else look bad. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They actually say that he's too expensive. What's too expensive? You mean he did it right? You mean he followed the OEM procedures? He followed what the OEM said. He did a Mitchell paint guide. He did PMC logic. He didn't cap paint materials. He didn't blend within the panel. He didn't burn the clear end. Do you mean he did? He was supposed to? Yeah. Oh my God! And the funny part is that kind of trickles down in the community. Is, man, I'd like to go to Pack Brothers, but they're the most expensive in Gaston County.
Yeah.
They're not any more expensive than anybody else. They just do more of the procedures that are required to do it right, and they do it right.
But that's what's sad in both industries, the collision industry and the PDR industry. The people that do correct repairs and charge the right amount of money seem to not prosper as much as the guys that are hacking cars up. You know,
I'll disagree.
No.
I'll disagree.
Short term,
Yeah.
Really?
short term versus long term.
Yeah,
Dude,
I'll
I don't
disagree
know.
there.
I don't know. I think do you think they have more people hacking cars up than they do doing correct repairs?
Well, yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, so
In
how are
every
they not
industry.
how is that
But-
how is that side of the industry not prospering more than the people who are doing correct repairs? Because I feel like they have a lot more people out there that are doing shoddy repairs than they do doing correct repairs, charging the right money.
Because I'll give you a perfect example, and I won't name the chain of shops, but I'll name a chain of shops, but I won't name them. So I talked to one of the shops the other day. They did 648 cars last month. Okay, my father-in-law does about that in a year, and I was talking about how many cars this shop did, and he said, the sad thing is, I make more money than they do. The difference between the 12 million that they're making in profit. Let's look at profit. Let's look at overhead. Let's look at ROI.
Yeah.
Let's look at my father-in-law owns his shop. He owns his equipment. His employees have been there for 15, 18, 19 years. He owns everything, the land, the building, the equipment is all his. This guy might be churning 12 million, but he's turning 3 and 4 and 5 and 8% profit, right? My father-in-law, using the Mitchell Paint Guide and the PMC logic, is turning 150% profit on paint materials.
It's good.
There ain't many people out there that can do 150% profit on paint materials. You know why? Because they don't try.
Well,
Yeah, it's too hard.
So
the question then becomes, and the way your father-in-law does it, this is because this example. That's why we're talking about him, because you know the numbers.
Yeah.
All of those customers that have insurance that go through him, are they paying any money out of pocket themselves?
No, because he's invoking the appraisal clause.
Can you explain that?
yeah, please.
So if whether it's a first party or third party claim, we recommend that all customers look into their policy and find out if they have the appraisal clause that allows you to challenge repairs. So there's two verbiages. An appraisal clause allows you to level the playing field against your insurance company. So if your insurance company says, I'm going to go to Corey, I'm going to go to Ryan, and here's a $6,000 PDR repair, and you wrote 10, okay? Insurance company wrote 6. Under your policy, if your policy allows you to challenge the cost of repairs, you can hire me or any other independent appraiser. It doesn't have to be me, it doesn't have to be Collision Safety Consultants. Any other independent appraiser can fight for that consumer to get paid your repair cost. Under the appraisal clause in that policy, it lets that customer pick their appraiser. The insurance company has to hire an independent appraiser. And now it's between me or whoever the other independent appraiser is and the insurance company's independent appraiser. And what I do is I take the procedures. I take everything and look at it and go, well, what's required here? What's required there? And we take and outline exactly what needs to be done to do the job. And I present that to the other appraiser and say, you tell me what doesn't need to be done here. And 9 times out of 10, they can't tell me what doesn't. They'll try and say, oh, well, your labor rate is too high. Why? Oh, because the insurance, can't bring the insurance company in this. We're supposed to be 2 competent, independent appraisers, and we're supposed to come up with our. I've had them send me the CCC on a total loss and go, well, here's my valuation. You're just sending me what the insurance company just sent the same customer. You can't do that. You have to come up with your own. So there's so many other appraisers out there doing what I do that don't know what they're doing. But in the PDR world, I think it was we did something in North Dakota not here too long ago, and I think we did some in Oklahoma, and I've got a location in Oklahoma, and we're killing it on PDR claims because the insurance company and said we're not paying this because of this matrix things, or I don't even know what a matrix is.
Is that hail? Are you talking about hail?
Yeah, I think it's made up. I think they just make it up, just like they got made up industry standard.
It's
just a word, a buzzword.
Dent Wizard made that shit up.
Yeah, it's a movie, you know. It's where the guy goes, the
Yeah.
bullets fly past him. It's
I have a question. Let's go back to the S550 quarter panel baseball size dent. It's $8,000 to replace the entire quarter panel or whatever. And diminished value is 4, so it's 12 total. And I want to charge $10,000 to fix that dent. It's going to take me an hour, and I hire you as an independent appraiser. What would happen in that situation?
I probably wouldn't be able to justify 10 grand.
I'm just, okay. What? Okay. What? 5, 4, 2?
I don't know. I don't know until I actually.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would have to really sink my teeth into the PDR world and look exactly, what the time that it takes to repair a dent, and what is repairable or not. I don't have that. I don't have that much knowledge of your industry.
No, I totally. Yeah, I understand that, and so it's interesting to me that when we look at the PDR industry, we are quicker. Pretty much always quicker. We are not invasive at all, so I can fix a dent to flawless where even other PDR techs couldn't see it, or damn near close to that. And I'm quicker. I'm not invasive. I don't alter the vehicle in any way and all that stuff. Why should time matter?
Right.
Like who gets to pick my hourly rate? And this is theoretically. I'm not trying to say I'm $10,000 an hour, but
you don't do that in the collision industry, right? If you get 3 hours to take a bumper off a car and a technician can do it in an hour, you don't go back and you don't go back and tell that technician, hey, your insurance company's only paying for an hour, you got 3. It's all about the learning experience, right?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my part of the estimating system through auto text, you can switch it to dollars. So instead of hours, you put it in dollars.
Did not know that. And I've had auto text.
And so you run it over to dollars, and there are no hours. So how long did it take you to fix that bumper? $400.
Right.
How long? $400. Well, no, I need to know. No, you don't. None of your business. That's what I charge to change a bumper. $400.
But
well, that's what I'm saying. I can imagine
if we hire you, how can you justify that?
It's what he charges.
That's it. That's it.
Well, I mean, literally, like who gets to do any of that? It's who makes the matrix. Who all. If you go back to way in the beginning, all business and all law and all that stuff is made up from somebody at some point, realistically. Right. So if I can make a case to the insurance company to charge $10,000 for this dent, when the body shop would charge $8 and there'd be a diminished value of at least $4, and I fought it to the end of the world, I don't see how they could tell me I can't charge that for a 1-day repair. You know what I mean? It's an interesting concept, and something we talk about a lot in PDR is that, rightfully so, guys can get stuck on price. We can price a dent to be. I've talked to Ryan on the way. I did a $968 job, and I was at the customer's house for roughly an hour and 45 minutes, and that can make people uncomfortable for sure. But who's to say I can't do that? An insurance company? No. You know what I mean?
Well, what took you, like, how were you able to get to that point, Corey?
Right, exactly. I've been pushing dents for 20 years. Right. 20 years. I couldn't fix that dent 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Now I can fix it in 2 hours while the customer sits and watches me.
There's many techs out there that probably couldn't fix that dent.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a fun theory, and something that I may call you, Billy, if that's possible, and hire you to challenge one of these at some point, because I think it'd be fun. It'd be worth what you cost just to do it on theory.
Well, and that's funny, because what you're talking about, I had a client the other day. It was a Tesla, and normally a diminished value claim takes usually about 30 to 60 days. From the time I get it to the time I send it in to the time they hire somebody or we talk. And I did one the other day against Amica, and I think it's a 2022. I can't remember what repair cost. The only thing I remember about it is my assistant Kim. She sent the report in on Friday morning, and I usually knock off at noon on Friday. And I saw an email come back like at 4 o'clock on Friday from the adjuster making an offer. And, Kim knows I'm not working, but she sent me a text. She goes, "Did you see we already got an offer back?" And I was like, "Yeah, like in 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours." And so Monday, I sent an email to the customer and I go, "Listen, it's not what I wanted, but, I think it was 67 and I wanted 10. And I said, it's $6,700. I wanted 10, but we got the offer back in, 30 minutes or, 2 hours or whatever." And they goes, "Well, you just got," I said, "Yeah, but it came in Friday, but I took Friday off, half a day on Friday." And, they said, "Well, I think you should push for more." I said, "Well, that's an option, but I just wanted to let you know that this is rare." And they're like, "Yeah, I mean, that we gave you $600 and you turned it around that quick." They weren't so much focused on the fact
Oh my God.
that I got them $6,700. It's that I did it too quickly.
Yeah.
They're like, "We were expecting this thing to go for a couple weeks or months, like you told us." I said, "Yeah."
And
this is,
you said the exact same thing that a PDR company says, like, isn't it better that it's faster?
yeah.
Right.
Well,
Why shouldn't you charge more than that?
You don't say that to a physician or a doctor or a surgeon whenever they tell you your surgery is 10 hours and they get done at 4 and you're still alive, right? Do you question him on
what the hell, dude?
Yeah, I was trying to get that 10 hours in. I'm paying $500,000 for the surgery. I want the 10 hours, That doesn't happen. We don't get that.
I went back to Amika and I said, "Listen, I know you, I know I was at, I was higher than 10, but 10's what I wanted." And I said, and here's the way I put it. I said, "Would you like to come up a little bit so this doesn't end up in a court or them suing your shirt or something?" And man, no kidding. She was on vacation for 2 days, and I kept sending her emails. I didn't know she was on vacation. And as soon as she got the email, she got back. She goes, "I'll go to 9,500." And I was like, "Done."
Right.
And so, and it happened. And I guarantee if that day I'd have talked to her on Friday when I got the 67, I would have tried to counter and it would have been settled that day. But then I swear to God, I think the customer would have said, "Well, damn. And I know you got me $9,500, but I paid you $600 and it only took you a couple hours to do it."
Yeah.
And I know that's how they think.
Yep.
Yeah. To relate it back to PDR, because that's what most people listening are, is, we're faster, we're better for the vehicle, less diminished value. We've covered all that stuff. Quicker turnaround for all those things. In theory, if you told somebody that, "Hey, I can do it faster, it's a better repair, it doesn't diminish the value of the vehicle, the paint stays original," all that stuff, they would think it's actually more expensive. But we're actually, like in Mark's situation here, a baseball sized dent and a quarter panel, I'm probably like $7,000 cheaper than a body shop. When in theory, if you told somebody no other information, they would be like, "That sounds more expensive." So it's interesting that we're in this situation and we're fighting to even get $4,000 less than a body shop would get, when in theory it's better in every way. So it's interesting. I have another question for you, to go back to the appraisal clause. Is every state different? Is every insurance company different?
So North Carolina is a uniform policy state, which means every policy in North Carolina is the same. It allows you to challenge the value of the vehicle and the repairs. Other states vary by policy. I'm sure there are some uniform policy states out there. Whenever I do an appraisal clause in a state, I always get a copy of the policy from the insured, and I catalog that on my phone. So it's on my iPhone. And if I'm doing Iowa, I'll just, in my subject line, put Iowa appraisal clause. And I pull that policy up and I can tell what it is there. Because I have these multiple locations now, I don't collect them in Oklahoma. I don't collect them in Arizona. I don't collect them in Pennsylvania because I've got, dual locations in Arizona, 2 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Florida. And I know what the Florida policies are, most of them. And for me, just to know the majors, if I know Geico, Allstate, USAA, Progressive, and Liberty Mutual, if I know those 5, those are going to be most of who I'm going to go up against. Yeah, and State Farm is
Did they take
pretty
the
much
appraisal clause out?
no. That's a big Wizard of Oz behind the
Okay.
screen door lie.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody
Okay.
thinks, oh, they took it out. No, even in Texas, they removed the ability to challenge the repair cost, but it still has the appraisal clause for the total loss of the vehicle. So there's, like I said, if we can go back to this just so everybody in the podcast understands,
Yeah.
there is either no appraisal clause in the policy, or one says we can only challenge the value of the vehicle, and the one that's all encompassing, the big kahuna, the whole enchilada, as we say, it says if we disagree on the loss or the amount of the loss, that encompasses repair cost and the value of the vehicle. And when I say repair cost and the loss, I'm talking about storage, I'm talking about admin fee, I'm talking about rental, I'm talking about anything related to the loss, towing, markup, parts, PDR, no matter what. If it says if we disagree on the loss or the amount of the loss, if the policy has that verbiage, you can challenge anything.
That's awesome. What about, I think we talked about this the other day when we were on when we met on the phone. My body shop, my loving body shop, one of them that I service told me that diminished value does not exist in California.
No, absolutely wrong. And there's a bunch of states it's harder to collect in. And I'm going to be opening an office. Yeah. New York is probably the worst that I deal with. And then the only state that I can say there is no diminished value in is Minnesota, because Minnesota is a no-fault state. And so your own policy always pays for your repairs. So the only way to do a diminished value claim is to sue the other party. So that's the only, I would never open an office there for diminished value. Now, I'll still do one for total losses, and I'll still do one for the appraisal clauses. But I would go in there with eyes wide open if you went into Minnesota, knowing that, you're not going to get diminished value claims. But no, California, there's actually a guy that I'm working with who's a public adjuster. And the reason they turned me down, I'm a licensed motor vehicle damage appraiser, licensed adjuster. Even though I function in every state as a licensed appraiser, California is very tough about not talking to an appraiser and saying no. And this guy, his name is Kendrick McKinley. He hired me to train him, but not under collision safety. He just wanted some of my guidance and training, and that he knew more than I did. But then I shared some stuff with him that he didn't know. But I've been sending a lot of diminished value stuff to him in California, and he crushes it. And like I said, there's someone.
Is he in LA?
There's a lady right near there. He's. I was going to, and a lot of things transpired. COVID, me getting sick, some family issues. I was going to fly into John Wayne. What's the beach?
Long Beach.
No, begins with H.
Huntington Beach.
No, yeah, Huntington. Yeah, he's right near Huntington Beach. 30 or 40 minutes near from Huntington Beach, and he works with a body shop there that's certified in all the biggies, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, all that. I can't remember the name of the body shop.
That's cool.
But here's what I think would be an interesting thing for you guys to do. If you wanted to make point in case on the repair costs, a couple things I would suggest. One, do a PDR on a baseball-sized dent in a Porsche front fender.
No problem.
Because
I got pictures and videos right now on my phone.
So there you have to where you're going to have to really, you want to talk about deconstructing a car. The nose piece of a Porsche is one piece, and you want to talk about it being destructive. Try and replace that. And especially if you got like a carbon fiber tub or something like that. In the GTR 3s or anything like that's got carbon fiber that's attached to it that cannot be repaired. And if you're going to cut into the front fender on a Porsche, that would be a hell of a thing. And I'd get with somebody like Benito Sid at Mercedes and talk to Ben, who's head of collision for Mercedes, and talk to them, because I think I would go backwards.
Who is that? You said the head of collision at Mercedes?
Yeah, Ben Sid. I'll give you his information later.
Fantastic.
So, and then you got guys at Nissan. I think what y'all probably need to do is like come to a CIC conference. So, Audi will be there, Mercedes will be there, all the manufacturers, OEM collision guys will be at the CIC stuff. I haven't been to one in a while. I think I went to one in Denver a couple of years ago. And because everybody kind of knows who I am, the only time I go to these events is when somebody pays me because I'm traveling so much opening these locations. I don't like being away from home. I know I travel a lot, but I really don't like it. But I would reverse engineer PDR and go to the manufacturers, go to them first, and to hell with what the insurance
Not the
company
actual
says.
you're talking about like the head of collision of Mercedes-Benz
North
manufacturer.
America. Yeah.
Like put it in the repair procedures.
Yeah. Porsche. Go see
Because if we can present repair procedures to insurance companies, they shut the hell up.
Yeah.
When I did it in the body shop industry, when I owned the body shop, as soon as I had that card out that said, this is why we're replacing this Ford Mustang bumper, is because no matter what it's supposed to be replaced, it's literally in the manufacturer's P pages. They didn't argue. They just came back with a supplement, replacement, nothing.
Yeah, they can't. And the same thing, like these guys, Wallace Collision up in Tennessee hire me a lot, and Relentless Collision in North Carolina, who Tesla certified. When they send me the Tesla stuff, and I present it to the other appraiser, whether it's somebody with SCA or PDA, or whether it's an independent appraiser that works for his own self, and I give him all the repair procedures required by Subaru or required by Tesla, they've got nowhere to go. There's no defense. In my attorney, that first case that we did against Tyndall Body Shop, he said, Billy, just tell the truth. There's no defending the truth. There's no defense in the truth. So if you're saying, hey, you have to take the steering column out of a Subaru when it's in a collision is defined as any vehicle coming in contact with another. That's it. That's what Subaru says a collision is. So that's what's required by Subaru. Yeah, does it sound ridiculous? Yeah, it sounds ridiculous. If you get hit in the rear and it's a bump that you have to take the steering column out and measure it, and you got to drop the airbags in a Subaru to safety inspection.
Or a dent in a door.
That's what it says. It's a collision. Hey, guess what? You can't fight the manufacturer because the other guy has nowhere to go.
That's like really like deep though. Like you would define of one car hitting another. So I guess if a shopping cart hits the car, don't have to take the steering column out. If a car door hits a car,
well,
I'm saying like technically,
it doesn't say car because I think I think one of them it was something that bumped into it, and we said it says something. I wish
object
I'd pulled it
or
up.
a moving object.
It says anything coming into contact with the vehicle. I think it's something like that because it's
literally anything.
I think so perfectly vague that it says anything coming into contact with the vehicle. I wish I'd have pulled it up if I know we were going to do this.
So you're saying
where can you find stuff like this for PDR guys and anybody else in the industry? Where can you find
P pages?
P pages, yeah, just for people who don't know.
Well, what I use myself is all data, for OEM procedures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the P pages, to be quite honest, I don't get into P pages. My experts are you guys. So if I was going to do something on PDR, Corey would give me the ammunition because you're the technical guy. I'm the brain. You're the brawn. You're the guy who can tell me through all this, Billy, I've learned this is what I do. And you would teach me. And when I go in to fight that other appraiser, I've got full guns loaded. I don't have to know PDR. You know it. You're going to tell me what needs to be done. I take that data, and that's how I fight. You know it. I don't. All I'm doing is pretty much regurgitating what you're telling me against the other independent appraiser who won't know a damn thing what you're talking about, but it's coming out of my mouth.
Right. And
that's how we beat them. So Mike Klavecki, I was trying to think, I couldn't think of him all of a sudden. So at Porsche, so these guys come to these, the CIC conferences, and they were probably out at SEMA. I've never been to SEMA. I probably want to go one year. But Danny at DEG, are y'all friends with him on Facebook or anything? Danny Greenberg. So look up DEG. They do a lot of stuff with SCRS, the Body Shop Association, Society of Collision Repair Specialists. Y'all know them? Aaron Schellenberg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know of that company.
That would probably be a good thing too, is to get in touch with Aaron Schellenberg and get into SCRS. That's Society of Collision Repair Specialists, because those are the independent shops in the United States that have come together that are going for OEM procedures. And maybe a melding of the PDR world to the conventional world.
Or our own, yeah.
Yeah, because the conventional world does not, how do I say that, welcome us with an open hand, because they feel like we're taking work from them,
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, it is, but.
We are, but.
Yeah, but
if the thing I would say, if they created an entire conference, SCIS, independent specialists, to do stuff the best way possible for the vehicle, and PDR isn't included, I would make the case they're not doing it the best way possible for the vehicle.
Right.
So if they actually mean that.
So the last thing I was at was it was the CIC in Kansas City. And that Danny Hacker was there. So, Danny going around to these places and promoting like he does is really helping you guys too. And,
sure.
There probably needs to be more of that.
Yeah.
Because there were some insurance folks that spoke at that thing, because the one conference before that, Robert McDormand out of Texas, who does kind of what I do, he does the diminished value claims and total losses. Robert was speaking, and he got into something about insurance companies. I don't know exactly what it was, but they cut his mic off, and because he was ruffling feathers. And I think that's probably why I don't get hired, because they know I'm going to say, at an industry conference, Billy's going to say what Billy thinks, and no one's going to shut me up except for my wife and my mom, and not necessarily in that order. But I think there's some good things out there. I mean, I would love to know more about PDR and see more of what y'all are doing and get more in the public. And that might be, I know that seems like a huge challenge, but I think that's
Billy,
Corey, isn't this what PDR Nation's supposed to be doing for us? I mean, we got so many.
We don't need to talk about that. We need to talk about that.
All right. Well,
the Master of Recon podcast is doing it now. So
do we have to start? Do we have to start this over? Because this is something that needs to be done.
Let's talk off air.
All right.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Billy, have you heard of the Mobile Tech Expo? Okay, so basically, it's the closest thing we have to a conference of dent technicians. It's in Florida once a year. How many people went last time, Ryan? 4,000? 3,000? 3,000 PDR techs, roughly?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, Kiko's there. Everybody that wants PDR techs to buy something, tool companies, glass chip repair companies that want us to buy into it, other businesses, et cetera, are all there. So this would be an interesting topic. There's an education day. It'd be an interesting topic to do a presentation on. Not that you necessarily could do that, or maybe you and I could talk off air, and maybe I could potentially do something like that under your direction potentially. But anyways, yeah. So the Mobile Tech Expo is the closest thing we have to any sort of CIC, any sort of conference we have. It's where if you're a PDR tech that gives a shit about anything to do with PDR, you pretty much go to Mobile Tech Expo. So that would be interesting. And gosh dang it, dude, I can literally talk for like 4 more hours.
How many podcasts can we just keep doing version like episodes after this?
Yeah.
I didn't get to any
We are
questions.
there is a max time that a lot of people want to listen to podcasts. I feel an hour to an hour and a half, and I do definitely want to respect your time, Billy, and I want a value exchange to come out of here. So I have a lot of information, a lot of questions. I'm going to digest it. I'm going to try to find a dent on a front fender of a Porsche and see if I could charge $30,000 to fix it.
I got one in the shop right now. I got one in the shop. I could put a dent in it.
Get out of here. I don't know about that.
I got a 1998 911 in the shop right now. I could stick it. That's a good friend of mine. I'll stick a dent right in it.
Get out the money maker.
Yeah.
So how would someone go about reaching you, Billy, and like hiring you to do something?
CollisionSafetyConsultants.us has got all my locations. That's my location finder page, and I'm on there under North Carolina. But that's my website. My personal website is CollisionSafetyConsultants.com, and then the location for all my associates and my company is CollisionSafetyConsultants.us. But yeah, that thing in Florida, I'd like to go to see it and meet some people, and I never even heard of it.
Yeah, because PDR industry is small. It's just a niche.
Well,
it is January 26th, 27th, and 28th.
Yes.
If you want to put that on your radar, in Orlando at the Rose and Shingle Creek, probably, Ryan, I believe. I haven't booked my room.
Yeah.
I don't usually stay at the host hotel. It's a big show.
Yeah, send me a flyer on it and I'll put it in my phone.
I will.
But
yeah,
we're fighting with insurance companies so much on the hail side during hail. I mean, I was just in Wisconsin for 2 months, and we were fighting tooth and nail with insurance companies, and it goes on and on and on. But I think you might have to hire a few more people if we can get you into the PDR industry to start fighting for us on the insurance side, because it's the insurance companies just say, hey, we're not paying that price. This is our matrix, even though
they have no choice under the appraisal clause, especially on hail. And every hail claim is first party. Well, so, and the customer would hire us, so it's no money out of your pocket. The customer would hire us. So the customer pays us to make sure that they're not out of pocket money.
So start ramping up.
And I'd be curious. I'd be curious if you had a buddy you're doing a hail car for, Ryan, and they had to go get something like what's the diminished value on that PDRing a roof versus replacing a roof?
Right.
It's a big number.
So there is no diminished value on hail or any natural. Yeah, there's no first party diminished value. Diminished value is only diminished value is only against someone else's insurance policy, except for in Georgia. Georgia is the only state that pays diminished value first, and whether it's your insurance policy or someone else's. Diminished value only.
If you have to replace a roof because of hail damage, there is no diminishment value,
or a tree branch, or a deer.
No act of God, no comprehensive claims are covered under diminished value.
Well, that's total shit.
So the pro is that that type of claim typically doesn't affect your insurance rates or points or any of that stuff because it's act of God stuff. The downside, there's no diminished value, even though it could completely destroy your car.
Oh, absolutely.
$40,000 worth of. Okay.
So the insurance company.
How are we an hour and a half into this and we just figured out this question?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So insurance companies, when it comes to diminished value on the like replacing the roof and the hail damage, that they make out like a bandit, because you're going to get killed. They have this thing called ISO. So if you go to a doctor, if you go to get your car fixed, if you have damage to your roof, any insurance claim is reported to ISO. Your deductibles reported to ISO when you go to the doctor. When you go to the ER, if you have the shingles have blown off your roof, if you're in a car accident, all that's reported to ISO. So if your truck is in a storm and you have $10,000 worth of hail damage, that goes on your ISO. And so when you go to sell that vehicle, trade that vehicle, let's just say Your truck has $10,000 worth of hail damage. There is no diminished value. And then someone hits you and totals your car. Well, your car is diminished because of that hail damage. And the other company that owes you money is going to say, oh, well, we don't owe you full market value because there was a $10,000 repair on this vehicle done last year because of a hailstorm.
Wow.
Mind blown. I don't even know
That's
what
a
to
whole
say
separate
about that.
issue. That's a whole separate issue. That's what I'm saying. We have to come back on because you start unpacking these things and it's like it just goes really deep. And
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of knowledgeable. And Ryan, you have own body shops and run hailstorms, and I'm like sitting here like that. I didn't know any of this stuff.
No.
That's fascinating. So I took a lot of notes. I feel like this is good, Billy. I would love to next time you're traveling somewhere, so you don't have to take time away from your wife at night. Next time you're in a hotel, let me know, and maybe we'll just do a round two and keep them coming because this information is irreplaceable. It's priceless.
Yeah, it's priceless.
Billy, we lost you. You muted yourself, or you got muted.
How about now?
Go ahead.
There
Yeah.
you go.
So don't feel like you lack knowledge of what I'm talking about. Just because you're in a PDR. Let me tell you something. Conventional body shops don't know the difference between a first party and a third party claim. Conventional body shops think because Joe hit Jimmy that Geico, who's insured by Joe, owes Jimmy money. Geico doesn't owe Jimmy money. Geico owes Joe. Joe's the insured. They don't get that. When I try and convert them to a first party claim, they're like, no, you need to get it from the other person's insurance. No, absolutely not. You lose control of the claim when it becomes a third party claim. You know, being y'all are in PDR, generally you're working for the vehicle owner and the policy holder. Y'all actually have more control over the claim in probably 85 to 90% of the cases, y'all have control over the claim. And 85 to 90% of the cases, body shops don't doing conventional.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's under someone else's policy.
Someone smashed into them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they don't know totally. Listen, and these guys that do it all day long, because it's probably rare. I mean, in a hail situation, I know there's a lot of total losses, especially when they have what they call the car killers. When you got the baseball size hail and that kind of shit. But most of the PDR y'all run into, y'all aren't running into total losses. And that's another thing. Okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna do Corey. Mind blown. How many total losses could y'all say for insurance companies by fixing it PDR and not doing a conventional repair and it not reaching that 75% threshold or the 85% threshold or the 65%, whatever the threshold is in that state, that you could save that vehicle from them having to buy the vehicle?
A lot.
Y'all just gotta blew my mind because I'm learning now. Just talk
way more than anybody thinks.
Yeah.
I anecdotally, and maybe it's not so anecdotally because I've asked, I would say a few dozen other technicians. If I walk through a body shop tomorrow, maybe I'll send you a video. If I walk through a body shop, and a lot of body shops nowadays out in California, at least, they circle stuff. They've red or pink for is don't touch this, green is touch this. Pretty common practice is some version, right?
Yeah, pink.
So I can walk through and I know what they're fixing. And I'm like, I can fix that. I can fix that. I can fix that. Like, it's probably 20%, 15 to 20% of the cars at a shop.
I asked this question on one of our groups on Facebook. I'm gonna have to find it, but it was a lot higher than 28%.
Yeah, no, about 20% probably, anecdotally. So, and I make this case. I put this on social media every once in a while too, and I break down the numbers of how large this is when people say there's too many PDR techs, and I say no, there's not enough, because if we could take 20% of the total revenue that a body shop does and shift it over to PDR, we're about 20,000 techs short.
Right. Yeah.
Just because there's so much stuff going there that doesn't need to go there. And again, we're a younger industry. I would say over the last 5 or 10 years, we've really been able to make that statement. My dad started Dent Pro in 1991. He could not make that statement. In 2001, probably not. 2011, yes. So we're just started. Like, we just got to this point where we can actually say that. And now we got to start making these calls to some of these people, which I would absolutely love to do myself. So yeah, you're right though, Billy. You're right. How many total losses could we save? How many cars could we save? How many different ways can we affect the industry with good PDR technicians? It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. So thank you so much for being generous with your time and just your knowledge and sharing it openly on a podcast. This is the best podcast I ever did. Sorry to all the people I interviewed before you. I'm 125 episodes in. This is like, it's crazy. You agree, Ryan? I knew this was going to happen.
Sorry. Matt had the first one before this one, but
Matt, the highest downloaded podcast. This one's gonna be the highest downloaded podcast. Zero change, like 100%. So
I appreciate y'all having me on here and quit blowing my head up.
Yeah.
My wife, she's like, "Where are you? What are you doing?" I'm getting, I text. It's like, hello.
My wife is too. Yeah. And it's Ryan's birthday, so he's over here like doing his thing, and he flies out at like 6 a.m. tomorrow to go visit a buddy for work purposes. Which
catting around in
Ryan,
Louisiana.
I'm going to see Matt more actually.
Yeah, tell him about this stuff. I would love to hear his opinion on it.
I can't wait. Matt's texting me right now. I'm already feeling him, man. He's dying.
All right, thank you, Billy. I appreciate it. I'll let you know when the podcast comes out, and we can schedule another one. And just hang on. We're going to stop the recording. Just hang on.
Okay.